Nick, you brought up something interesting early, a little off topic, but I made a note here about brand campaigns for local businesses. So for the most part, most of us work with local businesses, and let's kind of keep it in that context outside of e-commerce. What are your pros and cons for branded campaigns? And is it worth it? My take on it is the conversation I have with a lot of owners is if they have a bunch of franchises in the market that have brands, they're very concerned. And my take on it to them has always been, and this is a little off topic, is always, if they had the brand recognition you think they have, they wouldn't be going to Google searching in junk removal near me. They'd be typing in 1-800-GOT-JUNK, college homeschooling junk, insert name of other brand. So yeah, what are your take on brand campaigns? Do you use them? Do you don't use them? Do you think it's a cheap way to get wins for a client? Do you think that traffic was going elsewhere? What are your thoughts?
So let me sell this to you both directions. I'll sell this to you as an agency and why you should do it as an agency, and sell it to you to a client and why they should do it as a client. So as a client, when you're talking to them, if you have a brand, so we'll ask clients, like, are you a known brand? Do you have market share is what we talk about in real estate. If they're like, yeah, we have a good brand, we have good market share, then there's a good chance that your competitors are bidding on your keyword, or there's a good chance people are searching for you. And because people do a shitty job in Google Ads, your name, like ads are showing up 3 deep into that Google search, and then you're organically showing up number 4, right? So what's better than 10%? 20%. Why not take 20% of the screen with those 10 listings on Google search results? Own that. You're going to pay a fraction of the cost, and you're going to be able to control their journey, so to speak. So if you want them to have a call only on that, if you want to bring them in and take them to specific spots of your website, that's where you can control that journey for pennies on the dollar, compared to, letting them, people are inherently not overly intelligent when they're doing searches. Like, we know how Google search works, and we know where we can, get around the tricks that Google does to get you to click on something. A lot of people don't. So you've got 3 people above your name. So when we have people say, well, I show up organically really well. Great. You know where you don't show up really well? In paid ads, and you're getting your ass handed to you there, and you're giving up that to your competitors. So we tell them branding is a good thing to do it that way, right? Like, hey, regardless if you are or not showing up in those brands, you should run that. As an agency, I would tell another agency, we just had this conversation, some of the consulting we're doing is, as an agency, if you're struggling to get inroads for a client, branding is the easiest damn thing to do, right? If they do have a good brand in the market, then help them control that journey and sell it to them in the fact that, hey, let's get you good traffic, let's get you good leads. Because if you are hell-bent on using smart campaigns on max conversions or TCPA or whatever it is, then you're going to be able to use this as a good spot to have, these are the best kind of conversions. These are the ones that we want. This is what we want to formulate our data from, and getting that branding. It's like, we have a couple of clients that are struggling for their customers. They have good brands, and run that branding campaign, control that journey, make sure that your competitors aren't taking your spots. Because, I saw that online the other day, and Mark said something I think is really important. Everybody should be on Twitter and following Google Ads as a, Google advertising or PPC advertising as a subject, because there's some really intelligent, like Kirk Williams, I think, is one of them. There's a couple of guys that we follow on there that talk about this stuff or talk about the betas. So use that for Twitter. But yeah, doing that branding stuff is very important. He just showed something a couple of weeks ago, and I'll try to find that and send that in the link. But showing where branding is so more valuable than people think, because if your direct competitors are running branding against your stuff, they're stealing your customers, right? He shows where Amazon is doing that in the e-commerce section, where this brand is running, they're not running anything. They're showing up organically, but then all of the shopping stuff is your competitors running against your brand, which is a no-brainer to me. So that's how we sell it on both ends of the spectrum.
Got it. I like it. Mark, what do you got?
I like to run branded campaigns for our local service businesses. because from the agency perspective, it's cheap wins lots of times, to be honest. It also, for all the reasons that Nick says, you can protect your own brand in the space. The other thing I think is it illustrates the brand awareness or lack of brand awareness for that particular client. So if no one's searching your brand name, that's also should say something to you. And maybe you want to do a little bit more branding out there. Might even call for some display or YouTube or traditional advertising. The other thing is cheap. It's the cheapest clicks you're going to get. And my theory was, I remember when I had my e-commerce business, I had a product that I just sold every day. I was number one organically, but I ran an ad for it because why wouldn't I want, as you noted, Nick, why wouldn't I want this much space instead of being here and having my three competitors have this space? Mm-hmm. So it made sense to me. If we get into that discussion with a client about, I don't want my branded campaigns because I'm just getting that search anyway, I don't have that argument for too long with them. Whatever, we'll turn it off. Here's the plus side. Here's the downside. The downside is super small from my perspective. We had an interesting case study with an agency, and they were really only running branded search for furniture stores. And they were so pissed off at me because they was getting no impression share. Like there's almost no impressions. And I'm like, that's not my fault that no one's searching. Well, you're the marketing agency. Maybe that's your fault that no one's searching for your store's brand, because there's 30 searches a month in a city of 500,000 people. That should say something. So to me, that was information that was useful to them. So why not do it?
Got it.
It's a no-brainer. And on e-commerce, the same. Well, e-commerce is a whole different discussion, but I think it's a no-brainer.
Got it. Dustin, how about you?
I like what you just said, Mark, about kind of being awareness of how much people are looking. I mean, we don't always do it for local clients. We definitely pretty much always do it when we have e-commerce clients or any client that we know they've got people looking for them, right? So I wouldn't say we do it 100% of the time. And it does, some people have the same mindset you guys just shared about, why should I pay for my, traffic I'm going to get anyway? So I'll put a couple other pieces of how we use a brand campaign. First of all, it's a brand campaign. It's its own campaign. Yes. A lot of guys throw the brand keywords all over their search campaigns and they brag about the results. And when you look at search terms, the only thing that's converting is the brand. And when you filter out the brand, the rest of it is crap. So if you want to fleece your clients, then put your brand all in your other campaigns. If you want to do things right, put in its own campaign. So that's number one. Mm-hmm. We always have its own campaign. We almost never use smart bidding on it. And that's usually just because what's there to do? People are looking for you. There's no smart anything. It's right. It's like, I want all the impression share I can get. And I want to control that cost. And we've tested against it. And most of the times, unless you've got a brand that has a lot of different intent behind it for some reason, I can see a big company like Comcast, you got support, you got sales, maybe there's some reason to do it there for a particular action. For local, no, I would just manually bid it. And the reason why we like brand also is because it's a great barometer for how things are going on outside of Google Ads. Example is we see our non-brand campaigns, traffic is down or whatever, CPA is up, conversions are down. If we see the same thing happening in the brand campaign, it's most likely something that's happening outside of Google Ads. Because why would it happen in the brand campaign, right? So it's a great way to a comparison. And we look at those things together to tell when a trend is maybe a campaign that we're having a problem with on the cold traffic side, or is it an issue maybe with the market and the whole thing is being affected. We also take that one step further and look in analytics, okay, paid traffic versus non-paid traffic, right? And see if we see those trends when something's happening there. We don't always have the data for that because every client does a great job. And especially with GA4 coming out, we'll see how that works. But those are a couple of things I would say for the brand campaigns is use it as a barometer for where things are. And then also for new clients that have not run ads before, if you see that their branded conversion rate's 8%, and you need a 10% on cold traffic to get their CPA target, well, you're going to have a problem Because if you can't convert 8% on your own brand, you ain't converting 10% on cold, right? So unless you've done something very, very wrong in the brand campaign. So it also gives us like a comparison for our ceiling of how well we can expect things to convert. Or the ROAS, if it's e-commerce. Well, the ROAS on your brand is a lot of times higher than it is on cold traffic. So if your or just say the average order value, anything like that, we can be like, all right, well, the people who search for you only spend $100, and you need to hit this ROAS for cold traffic CPCs. You need to hit twice that amount in average order value. So it's not realistic. So it's a really helpful comparison. And it does allow us to not have to ask the client for all that information because most of them won't even have it. So you're kind of also setting up your own baseline. Like Mark said, like Nick said, is inexpensive, easy wins. We don't brag about brand campaigns. We just, that's why we have in our own campaign. You can see with and without it. Clients can see it in their reporting if they want, but it doesn't hurt to have. And it's usually the cheapest campaign they're going to run. I mean, unless you've got a lot of people bidding on it, then you better be bidding on it too to make them pay more, right? That's my opinion on the whole thing.
That's awesome. Really good context there. 2 layers in about certainly the ROAS part, but I actually really like the most the barometer of what's going on in their market outside of Google Ads. That's really interesting. So there's something affecting that market or that particular client. And I like that a lot. Very smart.
Yeah, there's no other way to get that information. So
yeah. Anything else anyone else want to throw in?
Yeah. So where this can work for you in going against other brands, first off, don't do KIs. So I'll use us as an example. There's a ton of other examples like dental, like what is it? Aspen Dental is a national brand for dentistry, right? If somebody's doing a search for Aspen Dental, then, and this is another great example, like my employee moved into town from a different part of the state, came in, asked me what to use for a dentist. I said, here's the dentist name I use. I didn't give him a phone number. I didn't give him a card. I just said, do that. He went and Googled it. If he would have Googled it and then clicked on the first thing in there, that he's looking for that brand, he doesn't know their number. And then he goes and clicks on, let's say Aspen Dental. All of a sudden he's going to go to Aspen Dental instead of the R&R Dental that I told him to go to. Right. If he's none the wiser. But where I'm going with that is if there is a 800-pound gorilla in your industry, like we have Zillow, I could go out and run a ton of traffic against their brand, show up top 3. I'll pay a premium on that cost per click. But at the same time, if I'm looking for quote quick wins and I know where those people are searching and what their intent is on those searches, I can try to filter some of that traffic over to my client. And that's an easy, quick win. Just don't do dynamic keyword insertion because you will get a cease and desist letter from somebody at some point. Make sure that you're not using their name and likeness in your brand or in your ad copy. But that's, and that opposite effect, you can do that. We have some clients that really hate some of their competitors and they'll be like, I want to run ads against that person. And I want that person to call me and tell me that I'm being mean for doing that. So we're an outside party on that. We'll run that for you. We'll do it. We'll make sure we're doing it legally. You're legally okay to do that. So that's another opposite way to look at it. And it's a better way to explain it to your client on why should we run branding? Well, you should run branding because your competitor's running branding, running ads on you. And 9 times out of 10, I don't know if you guys agree, 9 times out of 10, I would guess they're doing it by accident because the PPC manager doesn't know their head from their ass when running stuff. So, especially if it's if your company name is is the keyword, like Aspen Dental again is one that I would use as an example. Like that's going to be, security, a security company, and they have something security in their name. You're just automatically going to show up in those brands. So keep that in mind as well when you're doing that. There's other ways to
phrase match.
Yeah, phrase match. Well, it doesn't matter if it's phrase match. If it's exact match, they're still going to pump that.
Yeah, even exact now. It's rough.
Yeah. So make sure you're heavy handed on where you want that traffic to go. Because we do DKI. So we have to negate out those brands in that campaign or in that ad group to make sure that, we're not putting our client's name on the top of that ad copy. So that just be good at what you do. That's kind of the advice I have on that, I guess.
I think to take that one step further, first of all, DKI is dynamic keyword insertion, because people may not know what that means. We do because we're nerds. But what does that mean? It means that you can put this little bracket in your ad that Google will show the keyword in the ad, not the search term, but the keyword in the ad, if it fits the character limits, that sort of thing. So they will do that sometimes. Sorry, I got Facebook calling me over here. So there's that. Also, like you mentioned, like depending on the name of the competitor, a lot of guys for SEO reasons want to be in my city, let's say Fort Lauderdale AC repair. Okay, well, your brand is a keyword. Don't run a branded campaign and think you're getting branded traffic on that, right? Or, okay, let's be real creative. A&F, Fort Lauderdale AC repair. Like chances are Google will drop that A&F and give you, well, yeah, they'll give you all kinds of crap, right? So just if your brand name is a keyword, then this doesn't really apply to you very well. You kind of have to live with the fact that you chose that name. So
another example would be Geek versus if we named it Geek PPC agency, and the same thing it's just modified. So like
PPC Pros is us. Trust me, we get it all the time. We get job listing stuff and all that. We did that wrong, but whatever. We learn.
Hindsight's
well, the opposite of this is running a competitor's campaign, which if you run phrase match for any local service business, especially that has the service in their name, you're essentially running a competitor's campaign at that point, whether you want to or not.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So one thing to layer on what Mark just said, because of phrase match, you're going to come up. So let's say it's plumbing service is the keyword you're coming up, but if you're using phrase match, it's going to be Jim's plumbing service, Danny's plumbing service, Mark's
it might
service.
Be Jim's septic cleaning.
Yeah,
the way phrase match works these days.
Yeah. So one thing we've been doing that you can do is layer in, go through Google Maps and pull out all the main modifying term. So when I say modifying term, it's Mark. And then Mark's, plumbing service is the main brand, but pull out whatever modifies it. We go through Google Guaranteed. We go through Google Maps and try to go a few pages deep just to at least build a starter list. But you'll never outrun Google wanting you to monetize their traffic. So they'll always find other shit for you.
Yeah, and also the other part to that, because we do this in real estate. Because I'm still a licensed realtor. I haven't practiced on a very long time, and you can get the database of agents in any state for free if you email DBPR over here anyway. And so I remember trying to create a 17,000 negatives list with agent names. The problem is people's names are also names of places and streets and communities. And so now you're negativing like John's, mill or something community, or, you know what I mean? Like the name of a place that you want. And you were like, crap. So then you have to go weed through all that. So if you have like a lot of places that are also names, because again, your competitor's going to do that too. Fort Lauderdale plumbing, and you negative Fort Lauderdale or that phrase match term, you could be losing that as well. Or if you do it wrong, you don't do exact, then you do it phrase, which most people do it the inverse way of that. You could also be negativing out good traffic. And the problem with negative keywords, once you add them before you get the traffic, you almost never go back to them, unfortunately. So you never get that traffic back, and you just sit there and struggle and wonder where it all went. So, yeah.
Awesome. All right, gentlemen, I got to cut it here. I got to hop into 1:00, but Dustin, I will see you next week at Josh's event, which is
13th.
14th,
15th.
Okay, so we'll be back for the 16th. Okay, tomorrow for next week. Gentlemen, have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you guys later.
See you guys.
Later.
Stop this.